For 2 years, my ragdoll Luna would run away every time I tried to pick her up. She'd hide under the bed, she'd swat at my hands. I thought she just wasn't an affectionate cat. Then I changed one thing about my morning routine. Took me maybe 30 seconds, and within a week, she was following me from room to room, sleeping on my chest, and actually purring when I walked through the door. I've now done this with all 3 of my cats, same result every time. And the weird part? Most cat owners do the exact opposite of this every single morning. Without even realizing it, they're training their cats to distrust them. So let me show you what I changed, why it works, and how you can start doing it tomorrow. Before I tell you what the actual technique is, I need to explain why mornings matter so much. Because once you understand the science behind this, you'll never look at your morning routine the same way again. Cats are crepuscular animals. That's a fancy word that basically means they're most active during dawn and dusk. Their ancestors were desert hunters who avoided the midday heat and hunted in the low light of early morning and evening. And even though your cat has probably never hunted anything more dangerous than a feather toy, that programming is still running in their brain. So when your cat wakes up in the morning, they're not groggy like we are. They're actually in their most alert, most receptive state of the entire day. Their senses are heightened, their brain is primed for interaction, and here's the crucial part. They're actively scanning their environment to assess safety. This is when your cat is deciding, sometimes unconsciously, who in this household is trustworthy, who is safe, who is part of their social group. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. A wild cat waking up needs to immediately figure out if there are threats nearby, if their territory is secure, and if their social bonds are still intact. Your domestic cat is doing the same thing, just in your living room instead of the savannah. This is what I call the morning trust window. It typically lasts about 15 to 20 minutes after your cat fully wakes up, and what happens during this window has an outsized impact on how your cat perceives you for the rest of the day. Miss it consistently, and your cat starts categorizing you as background noise. A food provider maybe, but not a trusted companion. Use it correctly, and you become part of your cat's inner circle. So what do most people actually do during this critical window? They ignore their cat completely. I'm not judging, by the way. I did this for years. My alarm would go off, I'd stumble to the bathroom, brush my teeth, get dressed, make coffee, scroll through my phone for a bit, maybe throw some food in my cat's bowls, and rush out the door. Sound familiar? During that entire routine, I probably made eye contact with my cats for a combined total of maybe 5 seconds. And those 5 seconds were usually me glancing at them while thinking about something else entirely. From my cat's perspective, every single morning started with me acting like they didn't exist. Then I'd disappear for 8 or 9 hours. Then I'd come back and suddenly want to cuddle and play and interact. No wonder Luna was standoffish. I was basically a stranger who showed up in the evenings wanting affection I hadn't earned. But the ignoring isn't even the worst thing people do. Some people actively stress their cats out first thing in the morning without realizing it. Rushing around the house, making sudden movements, loud noises from the coffee grinder or the blender. Immediately picking up the cat for cuddles before the cat has had a chance to fully wake up and assess the situation. Staring directly at the cat with wide eyes because you think they're cute when they're sleepy. That last one is a big deal, and I'll explain why in a minute. But basically, everything about the typical human morning routine is designed to make a cat feel unsettled. We're loud, we're rushed, we're unpredictable, and we demand affection on our schedule instead of theirs. And then we wonder why our cats seem distant. Okay, so here's what I actually changed. The technique itself is almost embarrassingly simple. But simple doesn't mean ineffective. Sometimes the simplest things work precisely because they align with how cats naturally communicate. Every morning, within the first few minutes of my cats being awake, I do what I call the slow blink greeting ritual. Here's exactly how it works. First, I get down on their level. I don't stand over them like some giant predator. I sit on the floor, or I crouch down, or if they're on a cat tree, I position myself so my face is roughly at their eye level. This alone makes a huge difference. Cats feel much more comfortable interacting with creatures who aren't looming over them. Second, I make soft eye contact, not a hard stare. Staring with wide, unblinking eyes is a threat signal in cat language. It's what predators do right before they attack. So instead, I let my eyes be relaxed, soft, almost sleepy looking. Third, I do a slow blink, and I mean slow. I close my eyes deliberately, hold them closed for about 2 full seconds, and then slowly open them again. While doing this, I keep my face relaxed and maybe even let out a slow breath. Then I wait. Most of the time, within a few seconds, my cat will slow blink back at me. And that's the magic moment. That's cat language for, I trust you, you're safe, we're good. After the slow blink exchange, I stay at their level for another minute or two. I might extend my hand slowly and let them come to me if they want to. I might just sit there peacefully. I don't force anything. I don't grab them for cuddles. I just exist in their space, calmly showing them that I'm not a threat and that I see them as an equal member of the household. The whole thing takes maybe 2 to 3 minutes. That's it. 2 to 3 minutes that completely transformed my relationships with all 3 of my cats. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Slow blinking? That's it? That's the big secret? I get it. It sounds too simple. But let me explain why this works so well, especially when done consistently in the morning. Slow blinking is not something I invented. Researchers have actually studied this. There was a study published in Scientific Reports in 2020 where researchers at the University of Sussex tested slow blinking with cats. They found that cats were significantly more likely to approach humans who slow blinked at them compared to humans who maintained a neutral expression. But here's what's even more interesting. The cats didn't just tolerate the slow blinking humans, they actively reciprocated. They slow blinked back. And then they were more likely to approach that person, more likely to allow touch, and showed fewer stress signals overall. The researchers called slow blinking a positive emotional communication between cats and humans. In other words, when you slow blink at your cat, you're speaking their language. You're telling them in a way they instinctively understand that you're not a threat, that you trust them enough to close your eyes in their presence, that you see them as part of your social group. And when they slow blink back, they're saying the same thing to you. This is fundamentally different from how most humans try to bond with cats. We want to pet them, hold them, make kissy noises at them, all of which can feel invasive or threatening from a cat's perspective. Slow blinking is passive. It's respectful. It lets the cat maintain control of the interaction while still building connection. But here's the key thing that most people miss. Timing matters. You can slow blink at your cat any time of day and it will have some positive effect. But doing it during the morning trust window amplifies the impact dramatically. Because during those first 15 to 20 minutes of wakefulness, your cat's brain is actively forming its assessment of the day's social dynamics. You're not just communicating, I trust you, in that moment. You're setting the tone for the entire day. Do this consistently for a week or two, and something shifts. Your cat starts anticipating the morning interaction. They start seeking you out when they wake up. The trust you build in those few minutes each morning starts carrying over into the rest of the day. This is exactly what happened with Luna. Let me tell you about each of my 3 cats, because they all responded to this technique differently, and I think that's important. Cats are individuals. What works might look slightly different depending on your cat's personality. Luna, my ragdoll who I mentioned at the beginning, was the one who seemed to hate me for 2 years. She was nervous, skittish, always running away. I honestly thought she was just a naturally anxious cat and that I'd never have a close bond with her. When I started the morning slow blink ritual with Luna, I had to be extra patient. For the first few days, she wouldn't even make eye contact with me long enough for me to complete a slow blink. She'd look away, or she'd get up and walk to another room. So I didn't push it. I would just sit on the floor near her, maybe 6 or 7 feet away, with my body angled slightly away from her so I wasn't facing her directly. I'd do my slow blink even if she wasn't looking, just to show that I was relaxed. Sometimes I'd close my eyes and just breathe for a minute. On day 4, she slow blinked back. Just once, barely, but it happened. By week 2, she was coming to find me in the morning. She'd walk into whatever room I was in, sit a few feet away, and wait. She wanted our ritual, and once we'd done our slow blink exchange, she'd often come closer. Let me pet her, sometimes even flop over on her side, which, if you know anything about ragdolls, is a huge sign of trust. Now, 2 years later, Luna is legitimately the cuddliest cat I've ever had. She sleeps on my pillow. She follows me around the house. She actually protests when I leave for work. This is the same cat who used to hide under the bed when I walked into the room. My other ragdoll, Oliver, had a completely different response. He was already a pretty friendly cat. Not standoffish like Luna, but not super cuddly either. He tolerated affection more than he sought it out. With Oliver, the morning ritual turned him into what I can only describe as obsessed with me. Like, in the best way. He now greets me at the bedroom door every single morning. He's learned our routine so well that he actually slow blinks at me first now. He initiates it, and then he rubs against my legs and follows me to the kitchen, purring the entire time. The difference with Oliver is that he was never distrustful of me. He just didn't see me as particularly special. I was a food provider, an occasional petter. Now I'm his person. There's a genuine bond there that didn't exist before, even though he was never afraid of me. Then there's Mochi, my Persian. Persians are known for being calm and docile, but they can also be aloof. Mochi definitely fell into the aloof category. She'd sit in the same room as me, but always across the room. She didn't run away from me like Luna did, but she also never came close voluntarily. Mochi was the slowest to respond to the morning ritual. It took almost 3 weeks before I noticed significant changes. I think that's partly her personality and partly the fact that Persians tend to be less expressive with their faces, so the slow blinking communication took longer to establish. But once it clicked hard. Mochi now specifically seeks out my lap in the mornings. This cat, who would never voluntarily touch me, now needs my legs and purrs so loud I can hear it from across the room. She's still not as in-your-face affectionate as Luna or Oliver, but for a Persian, she's incredibly bonded. The point is, 3 different cats, 3 different personalities, 3 different timelines. But the same result. Because the morning trust window and slow blink communication work on a fundamental level that transcends individual personality differences. I want to talk about some common mistakes because I see people try this and then say it didn't work for them. And usually, it's because they're doing something that undermines the technique without realizing it. Mistake number 1 is doing the slow blink from across the room while standing up. Remember, height difference matters. If you're towering over your cat while trying to slow blink, you're sending mixed signals. Your eyes are saying, "I trust you," but your body position is saying, "I'm a large predator standing over you." Get down on their level. Always, mistake number 2 is staring too long before the slow blink. Some people make intense eye contact for 10 or 15 seconds before finally slow blinking. That's too long. The staring part registers as threatening before you ever get to the trust signal. Keep initial eye contact brief and soft. A few seconds at most before you start closing your eyes. Mistake number 3 is doing it once and expecting immediate results. This is not a magic trick, it's relationship building. If you've had your cat for years and you've never done this, it might take weeks of consistent morning rituals before you see significant changes. That's normal. Trust takes time. Mistake number 4 is forcing interaction after the slow blink. The ritual is just the ritual. It's not a transaction where you slow blink and then immediately get cuddles as payment. Let your cat decide what happens next. Sometimes they'll come to you, sometimes they'll just slow blink back and then go about their business. Both are fine. Both are building trust. Mistake number 5 is only doing this in the morning and then being chaotic the rest of the day. The morning ritual sets the tone, but you can't undo it by being loud, grabby, or stressful for the other 23 hours. Think of the morning ritual as a foundation. You still need to build on it with generally cat-respectful behavior throughout the day. Let me zoom out and talk about what this is really about, because it's not just about a morning routine. It's about fundamentally shifting how you think about your relationship with your cat. Most people approach cat ownership with a human-centric mindset. They want the cat to adapt to them. They want affection when they want it, on their terms, in the way they prefer to give and receive it. But cats don't work that way. Cats are not small dogs. They're not going to love you unconditionally just because you feed them. They're predators with complex social structures and very specific communication methods. If you want a deep bond with a cat, you have to meet them where they are. The morning slow blink ritual is really just a gateway into thinking about cats correctly. It forces you to slow down, get on their level, and communicate in their language. Once you start doing that in the morning, you naturally start doing it at other times too. You become more aware of your cat's body language. You start noticing when they're stressed versus relaxed. You learn to read their slow blinks and ear positions and tail movements. You become fluent in cat. And that's when the relationship transforms. That's when your cat stops being a pet that lives in your house and starts being a genuine companion who chooses to be close to you. I've had cats my whole life. Growing up, we always had cats, and I thought I understood them. But it wasn't until I learned about the morning trust window and started being intentional about building trust that I realized how much I was missing. The cats I have now are more bonded to me than any cat I've ever had. And it's not because they're special breeds or because I got lucky with their personalities. It's because I learned how to speak their language. You can have this too. It starts tomorrow morning. So here's what I want you to do tomorrow. Before you check your phone, before you make coffee, before you do anything else, find your cat. Sit down on the floor near them. Make soft eye contact, and slowly close your eyes for 2 full seconds. Then open them again. Then just wait. See what happens. Your cat might slow blink back immediately. They might ignore you. They might walk away. It doesn't matter what happens the first time. What matters is that you do it again the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. Give it 2 weeks of consistent morning rituals before you judge whether it's working. Pay attention to small changes. Maybe your cat starts positioning themselves closer to you in the mornings. Maybe they start making more eye contact throughout the day. Maybe they seem slightly more relaxed when you're in the room. These small shifts are the beginning of something bigger.